As the end of our first 6-week grading period quickly approaches, this video is going to walk our kindergarten teachers through the process of completing and submitting their kindergarten report cards for the 2016-2017 school year. The process of generating these report cards came through a collaboration between our district level content specialists and teachers from our various campuses. And what was generated came up to be a report card that looks like this. These report cards are cumulative for the entire year. The process of entering them will be now in a Google Sheets format instead of the Excel format from last year. And we hope that this video shows you that we've clarified some of the issues that occurred last year and hopefully simplified some of the process. So during this video, I'm going to show you how to create and fill out your first classroom information that will help you to generate your individual report cards for each student in your class. We'll talk about what happens when you have students that enter or leave your classroom later throughout the course of the year. We'll talk about the process of what will happen as you move through the year based on grading period. And then I'll show you some of the different features and then provide you some information that if you should have any questions throughout the course of the year, who you can contact for additional help and resources. So again, what you see is the basic report card format. The report card now has been generated to print on the front and back of a single page. You can see the information is all standard based on our procedures based on student behavior so that we can provide additional feedback to our parents. We still have the section on supplemental services, options for parent communication, and you can see we've added the letters of the alphabet and sight word components onto the report card as well. We still have attendance, our social studies and specials. Science has been broken down into its major categories, and then your mathematics, language arts components. So the first thing you'll do is when you're provided access to your teacher worksheet, you'll start on a page that says classroom information. This classroom information page will only need to be filled out once. On this page, you can continue to add additional students, so you'll see, despite the cap of 22 students on the kindergarten classroom, 35 spots for each classroom. So if you should have a student that enters the classroom late in the year, or if you have a student transfer out, you'll have plenty of space to add those additional students, and you won't have to do any deleting of students throughout the course of the year. So the first thing you'll want to do is you'll want to complete your campus information. You only have to do this one time. This information is going to populate on every single report card. You will have to visit the classroom information page at the start of each grading period because you'll want to go in and select the appropriate grading period. What this does is it kind of auto-populates the report card based on the sight word testing that will occur during that grading period. So you can see here we're in the first 6-week grading period, so we ought to select 1. Once we move to the second, you'll pick 2, 3, 4, so on throughout the course of the year. Now when you move to a new grading period, it does not overwrite any of your results in your report card. The report cards are cumulative and they will save over the course of the year. We've also entered the ability for other personnel within the district to go in and gather student information and grades from kindergarten. So if a student transfers from one campus to another within Waco ISD, we have those people that can go in and access that information to provide it for the new campus teacher. So it's much easier for us to transfer students in and out of this system this year. The next thing we want to do is we're going to add our student names and student IDs. Now you could go in and individually key these, but I'm also going to show you a technique where you can go into your team system and quickly grab a report that you can copy and paste that information in. So if you access your Teams account, you're going to go to your teacher menu and classroom grading. You can select your homeroom. And at the bottom right of the screen, we're going to go to our reports. Now this may not be the only report that works for what we need, but it's the one I found that seems to work the best or provide the cleanest data. So I'm going to select the class student listing with addresses. It breaks it out into an Excel spreadsheet, which is very easy to copy and paste over. It's going to open up a new window and it's going to begin generating that report. Now once this report creates, it's going to drop down here as a download. If you happen to lose access to this window, you can also go back to your home screen, go into the Teacher Reports menu, My Report Profiles, and under Report Queue, you'll see where you have that report processing, or I've already got a completed one of the same report ready to go. This report here shows your student listed in alphabetical order based on last name. So we have one column with last name, comma, first. And then we have our student local ID numbers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in, I'm going to highlight my student names, and I'm going to copy. I'm going to do a Control-C. And then I'm going to go back into my report card, and I'm going to select Student 1. I'm going to right-click, and I'm going to do a Paste Special and paste values only. Now I need to get my student ID, so I go back to my Excel spreadsheet. I go to my local student IDs. I highlight. I'm going to do a Control-C. Go back into my report card. Right-click, Paste Special, Values. You should now see that they're evenly set. All the students have their appropriate student ID. And again, based on the number of students in your class, you should have extra space for any additional students that come in. Once you place these students in, what you don't want to do is go in at any point and write over one of the student names. This student is now going to have a report card generated in just a second. And you'll see actually at the bottom of the screen, it's already generated the names. If not, what you do is you click this easy button at the top right of the screen, and it's going to run a script that will automatically name each spreadsheet based on the student name. That way they're easy for you to find. You can move the spreadsheets around, so if you add a new student later in the year, although you add them at the end of the list and their spreadsheet is going to appear at the end where student 23 would be, you can click and drag that spreadsheet anywhere else within to keep them in alphabetical order. You can also take students that maybe have moved out of your classroom. Instead of, we're never going to delete a worksheet, but you can take that worksheet and drag it down to the end of your list. That way you can remember quickly that that student is no longer in your class and you're not completing that information for the report card. Once you have all the individual report cards generated, you can see at the top we have student name, student ID, we have our campus and teacher, we also have our grading period, all generated from that classroom information sheet. The way Google Sheets works is as you complete these documents, they auto-save, so you don't have to go in and do any type of saving throughout the course of the year. All of the information within the worksheet will be available all year long, so as you complete the first 6 weeks, second 6 week, all the way to the end of the year, you'll have a cumulative report for the entire year. You can see that under the language arts section, we have our beginning, middle, end of year reading data. We have all of our standards, and you'll see these drop-down menus in each individual cell. The drop-down menu is going to give you a selection of one of our board-approved grading policy scales. So you know we grade on a 5-scale rating, ESNIMPU. That information is provided at the bottom of the first sheet of the report card for parents and teachers. When you go through a cell, if you click the drop down, you can select your grading scale there. If you type directly and you make a mistake, what will happen is the cell is going to throw up this orange caret that tells you you have invalid content. So then you can just go back in and quickly correct that. So it should be very easy to see that if you have any cells that have a value that does not follow the grading policy, you can quickly make that change and have that corrected. Again, as you're entering data here, those are being auto-saved throughout the course of this period. We also have this section again for, of course, social studies, attendance, mathematics, science, our special programs. On the second page, we have a section that's been increased for student behavior. Student behavior is going to be graded on a 3-scale rating: excellent, satisfactory, unsatisfactory, and again, those descriptors are there available for the parents as well as the teachers at the top of the second page of the report card. And again, on the drop down, you have those three options to select from. We have our supplemental services section. Here, if a student receives a supplemental service during the course of a 6-week period, you would select the check mark for that service. If they do not receive that service, you simply leave it blank. Next, we have our letters of the alphabet, which are tested at the end of the 6-week grading period. Again, you have check X here for mastery or developing. All you have to do is select those components for the letters tested during that grading period. And then we have our sight words that are also tested at the end of each 6-week grading period. Now you'll notice right here, because we're in the first 6-week grading period, the sight word list generated matches only those for the first 6 weeks. As we enter these grades for the first 6-week grading period, if we move forward to the second 6 week, by going back to our classroom information page, and we're moving ahead to the second 6 week, you'll see that it does not overwrite the information from the first 6-week grading on the sight words. Those can go back and be edited very quickly, and you can see that it's generated the rest of the list for the second 6-week grading period. So all of this will auto-generate based on that selection under classroom information for what grading period you're currently in. Once you have the information completed for all of the report cards, to print, you simply do a Control P. And what you want to do is make sure the selections are set to portrait, fit to width. Right here I'm on the option for the current sheet. You can print all sheets at once. If you have 22 students, this means it's also going to print all additional sheets up to the 35 students. So if you want to print them individually, you can do current sheet. You also want to select this option for no grid lines. Once this has been selected once, it becomes your default and you will not have to select it again during this grading period. When you hit print, it should bring up a preview. And again, you should see a front with your grading policy at the bottom, and then your back signatures at the bottom here. It should print on 2 pages, and if you select the print 2-sided option, you can have this on one sheet for the parents of your entire kindergarten report card and all the information required. If you have any questions in regards to completing or filling out the kindergarten report card, please don't hesitate to contact me, patrick.upmore@wacoisd.org. If you have any questions regarding the format or contents of the report card, do not hesitate to contact Gayla Reed or Ebony Cousins, who have worked in collaboration with our classroom teachers in the building of this report card.